You're listening to the SojuTalk Nation Podcast, episode 24.
On today's episode, we discuss brave sounds, carrots, and duck strip.
So sit back and chill with friends. You're listening to The After Show with the SojuTalk Nation. Welcome to the SojuTalk Nation Podcast, a chill discussion on this week in the SojuTalk Nation. We're recording on Wednesday, June 23rd, 2021. I'm your host, Crispy, and joining me this week is Koala. Hey, Koala.
Hello.
How are you today, Koala?
I need a break.
You're on summer break now.
Yes, I am.
Well, there you go. Ask and you shall receive. Let's move on to announcements. So Soju Sessions this week, episode 13, the nation's Daniel joins me to talk about his incredible story, living with disability, overcoming challenges, and we get into a few very healing topics within K-pop. So check that out on the SojuTalk Nation podcast feed, and also shout him out on the server. He's very active. He's a very active member of the community, and he's just got a lot of good energy. Celebrating the nation, no birthdays this week, but we do have a lot of birthdays coming up for the summertime, so hopefully as the world opens up, we're all able to celebrate and see each other. But yeah, let's move on now to this week in Soju Talk Music. We have two new songs this week: Brave Girls with Chimat Baram and 17 with Ready to Love. All right. So we have Brave Girls this week, Koala. Coming off their high with Rollin' earlier this year. Which I will say, their song prior to that, in the fall of 2020, We Ride, the city pop song. I actually kind of love that song. That's probably one of my favorite low-key songs that I caught later. But yeah, let's talk about this song. Let's talk about Chimat Baram. Chimat Baram. Did I pronounce that correctly? I don't know. The crew had a lot of really good things to say about the song this week. But let's start with you, Koala. What did you think about the song? What did you think about the summer vibes? What did you think about the beach party?
Bold move to say we are summer queens. I mean, the album is also called like that, but still they had a long ass intro, and it was brave sound, and then just lip syncing the ad lib of, I think, we are the summer queens, we are summer queens, something like that. So setting the expectations very high. That being said, the MV in general felt, as Anita said, kind of old, not in a bad way, but just it seems like an MV I could have watched in the past already, if that makes sense. Was just the typical MV, dancing on the beach, have the sunset in the background, just looking pretty, and I don't know, play not football, what the fuck, volleyball. And I think I also kind of didn't like the amount of background dances, like Doug said, especially because they were all white outfits. So it was kind of hard for me, especially who doesn't know the faces at all. Who's the main group? They are probably in the middle, but what if they are not? So that was kind of maybe not the best decision to make. Maybe they could have used more outstanding outfits for them. But in general, it's a solid summer song, I would say, and it not a bad continuation of their viral hit, Rollin'.
So going off of the busyness of the backup dancers and them in the foreground, I noticed this very much when I was sifting through the music video to look for a screenshot for the thumbnail, and I realized, oh, there's a lot of backup dancers in these pictures, these shots. So it was very clear to me because I was going through the music video frame by frame. But when watching the music video all together, I think those are the shots that I got a little bit more lost in, as opposed to kind of the individual shots, or even I think it was the parking lot scene, where there was a little bit more space and things were a little bit more spread out, and there's a lot more focus on just the four girls. But with the song, it does feel it's weird, right? Because I want to say retro or throwback to like mid 2000s, but it's weird to say like retro, right? Because I don't know if we've hit that point yet where we can call 2000s sounding music retro. But I think we're shifting in that direction because it does feel dated, but also this could just be a shift towards the early 2000s, mid 2000s K-pop pop sound as being now the retro sound. So I don't know. I think it does feel a little bit nostalgic. It's a really feel good song. It's very catchy. And just like the crew said, they did play off of a lot of the things that Roland was like reincorporated a lot of elements from Roland into the song. But I still think it's a banger. I think, like Warren said, like this song kind of hits. It's a little rough around the edges where it's, you know, there's some musical elements where I could kind of agree where at first it didn't hit me right away, but because I'm watching the music video, because I'm seeing the girls essentially do something brand new, coming off of all the success from Roland, I just think the complete experience was very, I don't know, it was really hype and really like heartwarming just to see it all come together. What did you think about the outfits and kind of the references to Sistar and kind of that summer vibe that Anita brought up in the show?
I think it fits. Sistar is also like mid 2010s, right?
Yep.
Were they?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
So it fits the general vibe of the MV. It was nothing too special. It's like the typical shorts and shirts outfit, but it always works. So I think it was good, and it just gave a little throwback, as you said.
I noticed that they got a pretty sizable CGI budget because there was a lot of airplanes. Just watching the music video, it did feel like they were on the beach, but I think you mentioned before recording that you questioned whether or not it was on a soundstage or a beach because of the CGI. You know what? I can't really tell, but I wouldn't be surprised if they had like enormous green screens on the beach. Because I think just kind of a flex to show, to give the girls a little bit more resources for this song. Kind of the thing that the crew landed on this week was that there is going to be a repackage for this mini album in the fall. What do you expect or what do you hope for as far as a sound if, you know, this is their Summer Queen re-entry into kind of mainstream K-pop with a very, you know, distinctly summer sounding song, but now you're moving into the fall with a repackage. I'm not too familiar with, well, I'm familiar with the Brave Bros through their songs that they did with Big Bang, but I'm not familiar with them specifically with like their own company and especially Brave Girls. But I don't know, do you have any expectations for them in the fall and what kind of song that they would do?
I don't know. Like the songs that I know of them are all summery and like more upbeat. So not especially dark, but maybe just a small concept change. Because after all, this is made for summer, and if they want to do a repackage in fall, I would really expect something different at least. Maybe also something new, because the MV seemed very familiar. I don't know. Maybe they will be fall queens. Who knows?
Oh, well done, Koala. Wow, logical leap. Fall queens. But I do think that you have something there with like the darker, more moody, like fall themed like vibe, right? And I do feel like city pop and kind of like not chill, but like more chill disco, right? Where it's like you have that retro sound, but you lean into it far more. I mean, they already did it with Reride, but I would be interested if they did something similar in energy level to like put a beat bump, but Brave Girls. and you have the girls being more elusive and kind of sensual in their music video as opposed to just like fun and light and bubbly, with a literal foam machine on set for this music video. So yeah, I think it's looking great for the Brave Girls. I think they are charting very well, and I don't know, it's just very exciting that one of the feel good stories of K-pop this year is all culminating in a very expected way during the summertime, where like they said on the show, it's a very safe song, but it also works and like very much fits with, I don't know, it kind of fits with kind of what we need right now with like coming out of the pandemic and people hopefully starting to feel better about opening up to the rest of the world. So yeah, Brave Girls, do your thing. Brave sounds. Yeah, so let's move on now to you, Koala. One of your favorite groups, the group in which you simp quite a bit. We have 17 with Ready to Love. All right, so the crew had a lot to say, but because 17 is your group, it is all you. What did you think about the song and music video, Koala?
The song is a grower. Like I had to listen to it a few times to kind of get into it. But I really, really like it because it's kind of like a throwback to their older concepts, because they've been doing like more darker stuff, and last year with Home Run also like following the retro trend. So this is just 17. It's I missed it so much. The MVs for 17 are most of the times just not my favorite. For this in specific, I would say the rain dance scene was just weird. So I know the intent, it's just fan service, but it didn't work because it was so much water that it just covered the members. But I really like the song besides the MV. So I would recommend like listening to the song without the MV, because the MV is kind of like not fitting at some places, and maybe also watch the performance stages on, I think, was it like that one neighbor show Now On or something like that, and they also have an own video for it, and they should also be on Jimmy Kimmel today, so there should be another performance for that. And because 17 is known for their dances and self-produced stuff, which also includes the choreography by Hoshi, I would really recommend watching that, and also like the other stages, which might not be a lot because, as Doug said later in news, they are now postponing their promotions, which kind of sucks, but yeah, can't change it.
Yeah, it's a little unfortunate that they are postponing promotions, because it is a good song. Surprisingly, I did listen to the entire album. I like this song quite a bit, and the first song, the opening track, Heaven's Cloud,
Oh, that's so good.
is a very good song, and I do feel like both those songs complement each other quite well. So if you haven't checked it out, check out the mini album Your Choice. Heaven's Cloud is the first song, leading right into Ready to Love, and I feel like those are excellent songs that go back to back.
And I know, like, from the fandom itself, like, the last 3 songs are unit songs, so the typical performance unit, vocal unit, and rap unit, and I think a lot of fans love Game Boy for the very different type of genre of song, I would say.
Yo, when Game Boy came on, I was confused, but I was just like, is this the same album? Because I kind of like this. I was just like, excuse me, this is kind of cool. A very different song from the first 3 songs on this album. I'll just say that, like, as a genre shift, as a palette shift, very different. But going back to this 17 song, going back to Ready to Love, I think the opening vocals were excellent. I think that's what caught me first, because 17 is a larger group with a variety of skill sets, and like you said, with units, right? The opening very much highlighted their vocals and very much highlighted the vocal unit. If I'm not mistaken, I'm not so sure exactly how it was separated, but just watching the music video, the first opening set of vocals, boom, like I'm in. I personally really like progressive EDM house music. So when um when the beat comes in and like you're hearing that progressive sound, it's like, okay, I think they got me. I think I like this. I think I'm good. And then the music video itself. I had written this down before Anita said it on the show, but it's cool to see that Anita and I are on the same wavelength here. It felt muted. The colors were faded, even though there were pastels and there was like lighter colors within it. I think they decided the entire music video was going to be colored a certain way, which is interesting because you have like these flowers and this purple bus, and yet still the color does feel a little gray, right? Warren went into a whole thing about like the details of about the coloring. Let's see, what did he say? He said, not enough contrast, saturation turned down, shadows are high, highlights were low, and Warren said it so confidently that I believed him until the very end, where it sounded like he was making that stuff up. I don't think he was making that stuff up, but it did sound very valid as far as his analysis of what the color scheme and what the color palette ended up being in the music video. I also thought it was interesting. So this is not song related, but they were kind of struggling with who produced this song. So, in fact, it was not JYP. In fact, who else did Doug say? Doug said like a handful of companies. It was JYP.
Doug said it was like, oh, it's 17 from JYP. Wait, not JYP. Starship.
Yeah, Starship. That was the one. And Anita was like, huh? I love that. Doug, we have our days. I feel it. I feel you. No problem, man. Yeah, but to kind of like close up the music video, I think, so this is just me like hypothesizing. I think they planned and they shot like the rain scene to be filmed a certain way, right? To turn out on the camera. And they decided, okay, we're just going to use a lot of water. So they did it, they filmed it, and they looked at it and it was like, shit, that was expensive. We can't go back and refilm that. All the boys are wet already. We have a deadline.
I think close-ups would have worked better.
Yeah, I think that would have been good. But then at the same time, it takes away from the attempted highlight of the choreography, right?
It's enough to like show 5 seconds and not like the last 30 seconds, just a lot of rain falling down on the guy.
Because it did feel like there was just a lot, and then they couldn't go back. And I was
it just looked like a storm just hitting them, and it wasn't intended like that.
Yeah, like I think the director kind of like miscalculated how much water needed to be in this scene to actually show the members, because yeah. Question. Okay, so the choreography. I didn't get to see the stages. What does it look like?
Oh god.
What does it look like on stage and in performance videos? Because I did feel also like they didn't highlight it very much in the music video, and I could also see like the sections and areas where members could be standing off to the sides.
They do that.
Is it as prominent on those stage performances? And
it's not too prominent for like the choruses, but they do it from the first chorus to the second verse. I think it's Dino standing alone, and then gradually members come into it and also dance with him. So it's very much their style, I would say, because they also just don't want to overflow it. And they also do a lot of isolations. So you got like one half that's dancing a move and the other one is just like standing still to just create an imagery. And that's just kind of their style. But for the chorus, they are dancing as a whole group for most of the time, except for now, of course, because the 8 can't like put too much pressure on his ankle.
That's an interesting analysis. I feel like we should have a section for more dance-focused discussion moving forward. I'm just thinking out loud, just because like to compare like 17 and then like a smaller group like it's like TXT. I think it's interesting how they incorporate different dance elements, like you said, like with isolations, and then using a certain section of the dance to essentially be like a part of the environment, right? With like a freeze section while something else is happening. Whereas like TXT with only 5 members, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it should be 5.
Right, 5. Where it's like you're getting them all on stage at the same time, or like ITZY, right? ITZY's a great example where it's like a smaller girl group, and you prominently see everything that's happening because there's only 5 of them. So I don't know. I think it'd be interesting. I think that's something Anita could dive a little bit deeper into, and I would love to hear Anita's thoughts and what section a segment off of Anita's dance lessons would be kind of cool because yeah, I think me that's still something that I've danced. I don't know. It's like 20 years ago, 30 years ago now. I used to dance when I was a teenager, into high school, into college, but I have not danced in recent memory. So I understand the fundamentals and basics, but I'm just really curious on how all that's put together as a group and also how it's changed over time. Because right now, like, yeah, I grew up dancing, but I cannot tell you like how complicated and intricate a lot of the choreography is today. And it's just kind of remarkable and amazing that groups are able to do such great things on stage while singing, for the most part. Lastly, Warren again hints at market analysis with micro and macro trends, with TXT's song being angsty and now 17 song being angsty. And are we expecting an angsty BTS song? Hopefully, maybe. Again, like another section with Warren's business analysis, business economics section would be amazing. Just because I like to nerd out and stuff like that. But yeah, interesting trend for Hybe with TXT and now 17 being a little bit more moody and highlighting kind of vocal quality in their songs. All right, let's move on now to the Spice King, the Soju chart this week. At number 3, we have EXO with Don't Fight the Feeling. At number 2, we have 17 with Ready to Love. And number 1, Brave Girls with Chimat Baram. Koala, what did you think? How'd you like the crew discussion this week?
I think that chart is fine, just overall. I love how Anita is still hot carrying like groups most of the time to the 3rd place. Who was the second contender? I forgot. Was it Yugyeom?
It was Yugyeom. It didn't feel like chaos in the moment, but like looking back, it's like there was kind of a lot of chaos in the discussion this week, right? With like Doug being very passionate about his choices with 17, Brave Girls, and Yugyeom, but then Warren like very much championing Brave Girls. He is the champion, even though he said like the song was rough around the edges. He's just like, oh, but I like this is a representation of Korea. And I was like, okay, thank you, all right, keep going, Warren, more. And then Anita freaking throws everything out the window and says, EXO, don't fight the feelings. Like, what? Excuse me. Granted, I do like that song, I do like that mini album. It's just interesting that song is still around and kicking, and Anita hard carries, and then Anita being the kind, sweet, gentle soul of a flower she is, allowing the Twice song to grow on her and still appreciating and liking what that song has to offer, from a music video, a visual, and stage performance aspect, which are elements of K-pop that matter and make it the unique genre it is, the genre that we celebrate and love. Any closing thoughts on this week in SojuTalk Music?
I don't think so. I would probably mention something else later on instead of the Nations.
Well, very nice. That's what you call a tease, everyone. She is a professional podcaster.
Holy.
All right, let's move on now to news, state of the nation, and World Cup. So not too much in the news section this week. I will say I agree, but also, I agree, and my expectations are tempered now, with Blackpink and the movie. Like, I would love music, but I think I'm at the point where it's like I'm just consuming so much other content and listening to so much other music that I'm okay. However, Blackpink did release the show as an audio track list on Spotify. So I've been listening to that. Really cool to hear it live, to hear that set list live. So, I still got some Blackpink in my life. I wrote this down. I don't remember the context anymore. I'll just say it. So these are quotes from the show. Warren said this: "I'm going to take a shit today. Let out the urine." Do you remember what that's from?
Yeah, it was them trolling the movie, the show.
Ah, okay, exactly. Okay, the part. See, I knew I was onto something when I was like talking about Blackpink. It's like I know this is related to Blackpink, but don't remember where. But there you go. Take the shit, Warren. Any other thoughts this week on news or state of the nation and just things the crew's been up to?
I just hope the 4+1 project is more than the movie, because it seems like it's more, but I'm not too sure.
I'm just gonna wait for the real news to happen. I think these previews and teasers are a nice way to build hype for people for people around the world who are less close to K-pop than we are, right? Because as a community, SojuTalk is just very knowledgeable and allows K-pop kind of into like every moment of our lives for the better, right? Where I feel like a lot of these marketing campaigns speak to the general audience, which is the general population and demographics of Korea and globally, because globally we just don't have the same access to information as they do domestically. And I think it's all good and fun, and that's why I'm going to take all this information very lightly. And if a friend who doesn't listen to K-pop or barely listens to K-pop mentions it, then I will be excited for them, because chances are they have no idea until they see a trailer in theaters and said, "Oh, Blackpink has a movie, we should go watch it." And that's pretty cool that a normal person can experience K-pop without having too much barrier of entry to access that information. God, I went on a monologue. You should stop me once in a while, All right, so Doug is also he's at it again. So he binged a webtoon. I don't know how he does it. Like I think he's a robot sometimes, because like speed reading 80 chapters in a night seems like a lot.
I mean, I did that before as well.
So, but then I imagine like you wouldn't sleep. Like you would start like I don't know. Well, say like you started at 6 p.m., right? How long would that take you to finish 80 chapters of a webtoon?
I don't know. Depends on the webtoon, because some chapters are longer and shorter depending on the artist.
Very true. Yeah. Oh, speaking of, I can bring this up in our check-in. I am reading a manga, so I will just note that for later.
Cool.
But so Doug is reading a shoujo, which is a slice of life, which is like very not action-packed and thrilling. Do you read shoujos, Koala? Is that your genre?
For webtoons, it's like half-half, because there's just a bigger market for shoujo webtoons. It's like a lot of fluff.
Do you feel like because webtoons, the genre of webtoons or shoujos, that those are a lot easier to adapt into web dramas or full dramas?
Yeah, I haven't seen any like action shonen webtoon adapted into a drama yet. I think the only thing that happened is God's Tower or something like that was made into an anime, but that's it.
Because True Beauty is probably the most recognizable title of the past year or so. Where it was a webtoon and then turned into a drama.
I think Itaewon Class also fits in.
Oh,
that's also webtoon.
I did not know that. Thanks, Koala. What do I do without you? Yeah, I think it does feel like it's more prominent in Korean entertainment that like a webtoon story would be adapted into a drama or a long form series or a movie, just because I don't know. It just feels like if you're comparing Korea and Japan, I mean, obviously, like we think of like anime with Japan, but then Korea, it's there's a lot of actors, there's a lot of just like people in real life situations. I don't really have a commentary on it. I just thought that it was a fascinating observation in the moment of thinking about like how webtoons are adapted and how and the volume of dramas that exist and which one of those are adapted and which one of those are inspired from different stories that already exist. So yeah. Um, let's move on to the best section, to the amazing
Oh
section
god.
this week, to the section that everyone's been waiting for since it was teased 2 weeks ago. We have the World Cup. We have Doug's drip. All right, and Doug is wearing a chain this week, I think. He's wearing an Anita flower on the back of his shirt. He's got some
Stussy.
cool on his Stussy shirt, yes, and his hair. It's got a little bit of product, a little bit of styling. Doug, I feel all of that. Doug's living your best life. Self improvement, look good to feel good. Doug is an inspiration. Let's be real. Like, man, like look at us, like trash can people, just like being
Oh
home
god.
for the past 18 months, like not giving a crap about how we look because no one has to leave their house. But guess what, everyone? The world's opening up, and Doug is leading by example, saying, "Check out my drip world. Check out my drip nation. You could do it too." All right,
SojuTalk merch when?
right? I get that shirt, please. All right. So let's move on to round one with SojuTalk drip, Doug's drip. All right. So there's a lot. Any of these stand out to you?
A lot of. Why Slav dog? Why Slav? I think Gucci dog and Slav dog have kind of an overlap because the Slav people I know kind of also wear a lot of Gucci or at least mock-ups. Like, just these categories were so worn. Like, sometimes it was very specific.
Yeah, I think there was some like. I feel like Warren decided, all right, I'm gonna open up my wardrobe, and I'm gonna pick out all these outfits, and then I'm gonna put them on Doug, and that's how he put the photos together. Which that's cool. It's kind of a peek into Warren's psyche also, um, but I think the ones that stood out to me that were very creative that I wish had made it to the end that won out was you know, Made Doug,
Oh god.
because you gotta really put it out there. Which Made Doug versus Doug Seroi, isn't that literally just like like Doug Seroi is what could that be categorized as? I feel like that is also something else. That could be uh that could be, I guess that's, well, could it be minimal? Could it be casual? Could it be Slav? I think that's like a
Without the
combination.
haircut. Yes, without
Okay,
the
without the
haircut.
haircut.
With the haircut, it gets critical.
Yeah.
Oh, that haircut.
All right, cool. Just wanted to like, so I'm not crazy, right? Because I feel like those like three or four are more or less the same. Doug JYP or Doug YP did win that round, but unfortunately did not make it past round two. Um, so E-boy Doug, I need clarification on this. Is E-boy a derogatory, or is E-boy an actual genre of like, or an actual like archetype of like a personality type and
I don't. I don't
and
really know.
like fashion style?
It's kind of it's like that edgy fashion style. It's like skater-ish, but not a lot, too much.
Because
It's like a lot of chains and you talk.
no, you're fine. Oh, well, because I've heard E-boy and E-girl kind of used as a derogatory before, and I'm just like, okay, that's, and but I've never used it. I've never like seen it actually like used in like the
I
wild.
think it's a TikTok thing.
Okay, cool. Because I think the last time I've ever seen it used was on Twitch, but I don't know if that was just like Twitch chat trolling, or if people were actually being jerks on Twitch, because you can't really tell sometimes. Um, so it was interesting that like seeing e-boy and it's like, oh, so that's not a negative connotation phrase. Cool. But I see the style now. I get it. I feel like I'm so much more culturally in tune thanks to Warren. What did you think about K-Drama Doug?
K-drama dog was like kind of also like the rich chaebol K-drama dog. It's like the typical trench coat. Is it? It's a trench coat, right?
Trench coat, long coat, yeah.
Yeah, and I have like a picture of who was it? It's like Song Kang, an actor, and he often plays. Okay, in which case are the male leads not rich, but he often plays a rich male lead, and it's just like such a typical outfit for it. So it made sense, but it also kind of overlapped with like it could have been Minimal Dog also as well.
Yeah, I mean, what comes to mind is Crash Landing on You and Hunbin making that transformation, right? When he goes to South Korea and now he's in that long coat and he has a turtleneck. It's like, yeah, I feel like this is the transformation Doug needs. He needs a Son. What is her name? It's not Yeji.
Yejin?
Yejin. It is Yejin. Yejin, yes. I was about to say another person's name.
Oh god.
Oh, very. Yeah. Let's move on.
Let's not talk about it.
All right. So they ended up with. All right. So let's go to the final four, and then let's go to the finals. So the final four was E-Boy versus Minimal, and then K-Drama versus Space. All right. First of all, I understand that they are trolling, but I would also just like for certain things to win because I think they would be very fashion forward, and Space should have won. But wait. So okay. So this is probably a bigger topic of conversation for World Cups in general because I think half of this list is very much like giving Doug advice for fashion, right? Which I can definitely see him going into a lot of directions, whether it's a K-drama look or minimal, or like streetwear Doug. I think those are very like
reasonable choices.
Yeah, reasonable and manageable choices to incorporate in your life. But then like half of them are also troll, which is like I stole my dad's suit, Doug, which is like the oversized suit. I actually don't think that's a fashion trend.
Yeah,
is it?
I think it kind of is like the oversized blazer look.
Like the blazer, but then like the rest of the outfit is tailored a certain way. Because when
I've seen people wearing that before in real life.
Okay. Well,
not that it is common though.
Yeah. No, I've seen that too, but well, maybe I'm just like thinking about it too trolly. But then also like the spacesuit and what other trolly ones? The maid Doug, Asian dad Doug. It's comfortable. I will say that.
Says the grandpa.
All right, so like a peek into like who I am. I like wearing sweatpants, but I like wearing like the joggers. So I like to look like I'm not caring, feel really comfortable, but then actually like, oh no, it's kind of caring. So like I'm very much like I lean towards athleisure in my everyday outfits. So I feel like that was one that was a missed opportunity. I think athleisure should have been one. Doug, if you're listening, athleisure, give it a try. It's very comfortable. Close to dad, Doug. Very close. But you don't have to wear the cargo pants or the New Balances. So the finals were Minimal Doug and K-Drama Doug. So what did you think about Minimalist to be like overall? Like just that look and that like hands behind your back, and the way Doug described it as you have the person who works at the company and you have the CEO.
Oh god. I think they kind of are the same. Like it was the kind of same genre of fashion. So either way, it would have been very similar to each other. In the end, I think K-drama Doug just won because of the trench coat that Doug wants.
Yeah, kind of projecting his desire to be in a K-drama, perhaps, to find love, to have a makeover, have a glow up, while K-drama things are happening around you. I don't know. I think we're projecting also. I think I'm projecting also. But yeah, I think the fashion choices were actually like pretty informative at a certain point after you got past kind of the more ridiculous comparisons and matchups. But yeah, overall, I think very informative, and I think there definitely can be a 2.0 for Doug's Drip World Cup.
Sneaker strip.
Sneaker drip. Oh, yeah. Okay, let's type that to Doug and Warren. And all right, hopefully that's next week's segment. All right. Yeah, I want to thank the crew for doing these again because it's just so much fun, and honestly, like it allows us to talk like ridiculous like people who just sit back and chill with friends. So yeah, appreciate you guys, crew. All right, let's move on now to our weekly check-in, our closing thoughts. Koala, how was your week? What have you been up to, and what have you been watching?
A lot of Loud, a lot of 17, a lot of Treasure.
Okay, let's start with Loud. How's it going so far? What do you think about the show? You sent me a few clips. I watched them. I have opinions. I have thoughts. But go ahead. Go first.
We're into trainee like number 10, and we have 70, so I don't know how long this will take, but they started, I think the first one was still like an independent trainee, and then they started to show their company-owned trainees. So P-Nation had, I think it was 5 or 6 kids, all in the range of 16 to like 19 years old, I think. Then JYP had 3 kids, and one of them was Japanese, if I remember correctly. They both had a group performance, which didn't play into like the whole audition thing, so it didn't matter how well they did on that performance. It didn't affect like their passes or not. But after that, so all the trainees also had individual stages with the typical skill performance and the charm performance. And we have seen like 3 or 4, I think, 1 JYP trainee and 2 or 3 P-Nation kids. And conclusion, I like P-Nation kids way more.
Nice. Yeah, so you sent me a few clips of the performances. You sent me a JYP and a P-Nation performance. Holy cow. All right, so the JYP kids, actually pretty good. Like very much like in line with where you think trainees should be at this point. Being like young teenage dudes, right? The P-Nation kids. What the fuck? Are those actual are they ready to debut like tomorrow?
It's
like yesterday?
It's really interesting. It's really interesting because they are maximally like training for 2 years at P-Nation. And there's like not a lot. So it's impressive how well they did and like their amount of energy to fit 80s concept.
So you mentioned this when we talked about this, but I'm really curious if they will show like how involved Psy is in the actual like training and evaluation, because JYP is very involved, like as we know. But I want to know if like Psy is actually like in the training room with them. Maybe not like to the extent of like hours and hours, but just like okay, like more than just evaluations, but just like working on choreography, working on charisma, working on stage presence. Because I do feel like a lot of those things, a lot of those strengths of Psy, are showing through that group video that you showed me, and I was just like blown away. It was just like, holy crap, like these kids are amazing. It's like I saw speechless. I didn't really know how else to put it. It was very refined, very polished. Like they were all very like in sync, and the choreography felt like they were very seasoned. And then like the vocals like stood out too. So it's like everything like was coming together, and like these kids have not debuted yet. They are not like idols yet. Yeah. Well, how did that hit you like the first time seeing that, Koala?
I was in shock, and then after that, one of the kid had his individual stage, and he was like, "I'm the biggest introvert ever." What? He's like one of the rappers. I think you called him Attack on Titan, dude.
Yes. So he's wearing an Attack on Titan like outfit.
And Sai talked about him like he's the biggest introvert Sai knows, and he was always looking at the ground on the evaluations at the beginning for like the first year. So I was like, how does that work? How is he so different on stage?
Yeah. You know, it's one of those like mysteries, right? Where it's like you want to know more about the personality of these trainees and the future idols, and so they give you a lot of like background and like personality and character developing moments within a show. And then they say something like that where it's like, yeah, during my evaluations I couldn't even look you in the eye. I looked at the ground. I'm an introvert. And then once they finally get on stage, it's almost as if all their training like kicks in at the same time, and then they forget about like a lot of their like emotional hangups, and then they're just performing. I think that speaks to one, like the training process, and two, to the amount of hours and dedication of practice for like a specific performance, that stage in particular. I think that's just something that, like, for me, like I'm always amazed and try to be cognizant about, because like it's like you want to see like the process, but then like when the finished product happens and it comes out like this way, it's like, oh crap, like the process worked. But also it's kind of fun to see like train wrecks and things light up on fire, as we've seen in other competition shows. So just high drama, high entertainment, very much. Any closing thoughts on Loud this week, and any other things that happened on the show?
I think it's interesting that I think the main dude of JYP already trained for more than 5 years. That's like, he could have been in Stray Kids. Like, he's that long into that entertainment. So I'm curious. I would be surprised if he doesn't make the group. Like, in the end, either one.
Yeah, and yeah, that's actually an interesting timeline for that trainee, where he's been training for quite some time, and he could have been Stray Kids, and now he's on the show. So hopefully his career takes off because of this, because I think the show is actually like showing some really like high quality entertainment. So yeah. For me this week, I started reading Your Lie in April, the manga. And it's an interesting like way to approach this story, because I watched it as an anime, and I've watched it a couple times since then, since my first viewing almost 10 years ago. Yes, almost 10 years ago. And obviously like there's music, and it's very much emotional through like the visual aspect, because it's a story around spring and what that means for blossoming, and the changings of the seasons, and like different color palette choices. And then reading it as a manga, one, I think the spirit of the story is very present in how it's constructed. There actually isn't as much dialogue as the show. A lot of it is still through very much like the pencil work and like the shading, right? But I also like see like the great creative lengths that the anime went through to pull out so much emotion from that source material, because it's actually kind of amazing how much they were able to incorporate with music and structure and color, and just like the motion of the characters, right? Yeah, I think both pieces of the story, whether you're reading the manga or the anime, definitely have that spirit of what it was trying to convey with music and with those growing up through those formative years and trauma as a child. And I think it's helping me understand the story far deeper, reading it through like this almost like filter of like using my imagination to fill in a lot of the blanks. And I do feel like it's going to make my anime experience, now wanting to rewatch it for the fifth time, far more richer. So yeah, I think that's just I think I think it's really cool to like supplement like your understanding of story and understanding of a certain property this way. You know, watching it as an anime and then reading the manga, or the other way around. But yeah, that was my week. Anything else for you, Koala? Any exciting things for you? You have summer coming up. Any plans?
I'm just simping groups, Crispy. I'm like both of my groups are doing so well. Treasure released their light stick. I can't afford it because Weverse is charging the same amount for the light stick, additionally for the shipping. It's like the light stick on its own is like $35, but the shipping is like $36. So I don't have the money for that. But I can get it anyway because they restocked it for the third time and it's sold out again in like 10 minutes.
You are
so yeah, that's
you are
yeah.
a true simp. True simp. It's like all of your problems revolve around spending money on these boys that you
Of course.
love so deeply and have nothing but affection for. And you know what? Live your best life.
I was about to buy the 17 album, which is like the million mark again. But then again, I didn't because I was looking into their older albums more. Because the newer albums are not, like the packaging of those is kind of weird. So I'm waiting.
So that's your hang up. The packaging is kind of weird. Well,
Yeah.
you know, if that's the small hurdle you have to jump over to fulfill your simp needs, I think it'll be fine. I think it'll teach you a lesson in patience and impulse control. So yeah, I think you're doing great. All right, well, that does it for this week. I think we've covered a lot. I think we've talked very casually this week, and yeah, I do kind of appreciate the crew being a lot more casual in their conversations as well. I think it's helped, you know, ease some of the pressure with types of conversations that they have on the show, and us especially on the after show. Thank you for listening to the SojuTalk Nation Podcast, episode 24.
Subscribe on YouTube, follow on Spotify or your preferred podcast platform, and continue the conversation on the SojuTalk Kpop Podcast Discord.
This has been the SojuTalk Nation for Koala. This is Crispy. Bye.
Bye.